But if you have questions that you would like somebody who has a degree in the science field to answer, I would be more than happy to oblige. Hello everyone, I am a little bit late to the party on explaining why wearing a mask in public might be helpful for you. There's a lot of rhetoric going around the internet. I did a video on coronavirus at the very beginning of the pandemic. I still see a lot talking about masks and why masks aren't useful or why you shouldn't wear a mask or how that's the government trying to control you. You're totally welcome to make your own decisions, obviously think for yourself, etc. I just want to present to you some information so that you are able to make that decision to the best of your ability. Atlas is going to join us for this TED Talk. Are you going to join? Okay, so the first thing that I want to address is coronavirus being able to go through the mask. As we know, viruses are very small. They're smaller than bacteria, and they are able to penetrate a mask. So that leads a lot of people to question, like, is this even beneficial for me to wear? Why should I wear a mask that allows a viral particle that I'm trying to be protected from? Why should I wear that if it's allowing the virus to get through? So the answer to this question is a little bit convoluted, but I'm going to try to explain it in a way that's very tangible. The reason why you wear a mask is because we have these things called droplets. So no, a mask is not going to keep the virus from going in and out. So if you are wearing a mask and you're really close to somebody else wearing a mask and you're both breathing on each other and one of those people has coronavirus, it's very likely that you are going to be exposed to that virus. That's why we social distance, so that we're not that close to where the virus is. Another way that you can spread viral particles is through droplets. So droplets are essentially, in a nutshell, a little sticky mucus particle that has all kinds of stuff stuck to it. So you can make mucus if you have allergies from pollen or dust. You can have bacteria, you can have viruses, you can have all kinds of things in mucus. And so mucus is actually pretty big. And so the pores in your mask, in your paper mask, in your cloth mask, in your N95, whatever you're wearing, they can stop some of that mucus and some of those droplets from exiting your mask. When you sneeze, when you cough, when you accidentally spit, when you're talking, whatever you're doing with your mouth and your nose, it can stop some of that from getting out. And so why that's important is because when we're talking about infection, especially with something that relies on the amount of particles that you're being exposed to, if you are able to cut down the amount of particles that escape your mask or that escape somebody who's infected's mask from 100, let's say 100 particles to 50 particles, the chance of somebody else getting infected with that also drops, because infection requires that you're exposed to it, and the amount of infection also and the way that your body responds depends also on the amount of exposure, the length of exposure, how many particles are in your system. Is your system able to fight it off, or is it going to be overwhelmed? So decreasing the number of particles that you are exposed to increases the likelihood that if you do get infected, you might be able to fight it off a little bit better. So that's one reason why we wear a mask, is because it prevents those mucus droplets from getting out. Another thing I see is people want to become immune to it, and so they're like, well, why can't I just get exposed to the virus? Wouldn't that just be easier if I was immune to it? So we don't know yet if you can become immune to it. So if you recall with the flu, you have to get a flu shot every year if you choose to do that. The flu shot you have to get every year because you don't become immune to the flu because the flu mutates. And so our bodies don't recognize the flu. We recognize very, very specific particles. And so maybe we'll be immune to the coronavirus, or maybe it'll be a thing like the flu shot where we have to get it every single year if it mutates. So we don't know if we can become immune to it, but let's assume that we can. One way to do that is to get vaccinated if there is ever a vaccine. They are currently working on it. Lots of them are in clinical trials. Another way to do that is natural immunity, just by exposure. And so when we're talking about exposure, the most ideal situation for you to get a disease and become immune to it is for you to become exposed to just the right amount of particles that you can mount an adaptive immune response to that particle and make memory cells and be able to fight it off. So now if you see it again, you can fight it off very quickly. What we don't want to happen is for your system to become overwhelmed by this virus. So the people who are dying from coronavirus or who are severely or extremely ill are also mounting an immune response to to the virus. And a lot of what scientists speculate is what's happening is this thing called a cytokine storm, which is essentially an immune response that's causing a lot of damage in the lungs. Damage is being caused by your immune system in response to a virus, etc. There's a lot of parts moving around, but you are still having an immune response. You're just having too strong of an immune response. So you don't want that to happen. And so what you would like to do if you're trying to get natural immunity is to decrease the viral load that you are exposed to. So let's say from 100 to 50, you want to be exposed to less. How do we achieve that? We wear a mask. So if theoretically, if you're exposed to less particles, it is possible that your body will be able to respond to it before it overcomes your system. I am not telling you to go outside and find somebody who is infected and breathe their air and try to get natural immunity. I do not think that's a good idea. I do not condone that activity. Don't do that. That's not a good idea. However, if you are just absolutely convinced that you need to get natural immunity and you need to be infected by this, the best way to do that is to wear a mask. And to social distance, because you don't want to overwhelm your system with too many viral particles, and the best way to do that is to decrease the amount of viral particles that you are exposed to, and the best way to do that is to put on your little mask and go out there and do your thing. Okay? You're doing a great job. Oh, you lost a tooth. Atlas just lost a tooth. The other thing is talking about your CO2 levels, like rebreathing your CO2, not getting enough oxygen, etc., etc. Here's the thing. So yes, it is uncomfortable to wear a mask. I've worked in the nursing home. I've worn my mask for 16 hours straight. I'll tell you it's not comfortable. I'll tell you my face is breaking out from it. I'll tell you I wish I didn't have to wear a mask, but I do it to protect other people. But I'm gonna tell you right now that every time my oxygen has been taken, it has been at 99%, which is what those monitors read, so I'm Gucci. My oxygen is fine, I'm breathing fine, I have no signs of acidic blood. And the other thing is your body has an extensive buffer system called the bicarbonate buffer system, which is specifically designed to respond to you having different levels of CO2 and O2. Your body's capable of handling minor changes, especially if you do not work in healthcare, which is probably the people who don't want to wear masks. You probably aren't wearing your mask long enough for it to even make a difference. And even if you were, your body has a system called the bicarbonate buffer system. I'll go into it if you want to. We'll talk about Le Chatelier's principle. We'll talk about H+, pH, whatever you want. Whatever you want, we'll talk about it. But I don't think that it's necessary for you to know about Le Chatelier's principle and the bicarbonate buffer system for you to understand that your CO2 rebreathing is not significant enough to affect your blood. You're gonna be okay. So for the amount of time that you're wearing a mask, for the robustness of your blood buffering system, you should be okay. If you have questions, I'd be happy to talk to you about it. If you choose not to wear a mask, I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. I just want you to have the information that you need to make an informed decision. I personally do not believe the government is trying to control you by asking you to wear a mask. I think it's the least that you can do. I think maybe the government is trying to control you in other ways, but this probably is not that way. So if you have questions, I'd be happy to have a civilized conversation with you. We can disagree, that's fine. But if you have questions that you would like somebody who has a degree in a science field to answer, I would be more than happy to oblige. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks, bye!